going to do is we're going to talk tonight about some secret weapons. And of course, I'm always wondering what it is I should probably use as a topic for our masterminds when I get done with one. And I'm trying to make them so that they're viable things for you out there so that you can use them in your life with not only yourself, but with other people. And these are a couple of things that I really have used a lot for myself and also for a lot of my clients. Of course, I do a lot of sessions. They don't come up as often, but when they do, they're very, very powerful. And one of them is the grounding process, and the other one is my energy transfusion, which was actually a dream that I had, and I'll tell that story when I get to it. And I'm also going to show you how to do it. So we're going to go ahead and start with this process here. Healing strategies. One of the things that you're going to find is that every modality has a different way to release energies. And that's important to realize because you know what? There's more than one way to do things. Every modality that I look at, I kind of analyze it. And that's when I started with Dr. Nelson's stuff, I just thought that, oh my gosh, I have found the answer to everything. It's like the secret, like the purpose of life. When I started working with the emotion code, I thought, oh my gosh, I can do this on myself. It helps me to eliminate the energies that are causing me problems. And if you remember correctly, when I started doing this, one of them was because I had just lost my restaurant. Then I cooked for quite a while, and I'd worked in hotels, I worked in casinos, I worked in colleges, and as an instructor actually in one of the colleges as community education, and I was able to go in and teach classes for that too. And when I finally got into my restaurant, I thought, oh my gosh, I finally have achieved my dream. I remember feeling that I had finally found my calling. My food was fantastic. I had a stage actually in my restaurant, and I had live music, and it was just a lot of fun. One of my favorite times was when I would have, and I had a German restaurant, so I had German music playing there, and people would actually get up and we'd move tables and they were dancing right there in the restaurant. And my staff, they just loved it too. I had about 30 people working for me. That made me feel like I had finally achieved what I had been trying to accomplish. Of course, the economy didn't help me out, and I lost that. And I couldn't figure out what the heck was causing all these failures in my life. I'd had, a number of different things. I'd been through a divorce. I had a bankruptcy in my first marriage. There was just different things. I just couldn't seem to move forward in a lot of different things. And I thought I'd finally achieved it with my restaurant. And then boom, I lost everything. And here I was trying to figure out what the heck I could do. And when I heard about Dr. Nelson's stuff, I thought, oh my gosh, here it is. The emotion code. Very simple. I worked with that, and then I found that I had an ability to work with that. I could feel those energies releasing. And I thought, I've got it all. And then I heard about the body code that Dr. Nelson had. Well, I had just been through a bankruptcy, and I couldn't afford to buy the body code. It was $1,000. The emotion code was free. So I could work with that one. As long as I could download the charts, then I was okay. So I worked with the emotion code, and I finally got a hold of the body code when I was building websites for a guy, and he said, well, if you do sessions on me, I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll forward you the money to buy the body code. And I said, done. Well, finally got a hold of the body code, and I'm going, oh my gosh, I've got it all. Now I can do anything. And then I found out that right there in the body code, there's a spot that says, you need a three-dimensional therapy session in order to take care of this problem if it goes to that spot. I'm going, oh my gosh, there's another thing? Well, I bought the three-dimensional therapy. There was another $500, and I was using that, and I just realized that, oh my gosh, there's all kinds of stuff out there that can be helpful because not everything I was looking for was in the body code. So I started working with three-dimensional therapy. I started, which was the T3, and I worked with self-sabotage and with soul retrieval. Let's see, what's some of the other stuff that I did? Shadow work, there's a number of different things. And then I started creating some of the modalities or the systems that I needed to work with. And for the Ultimate Healers tonight, we're going to be talking about frequencies, how those work together. That is the K7 stuff that I put together. So anyway, one of the things that I found as I was going along, and I'm always listening to different ways of different people, way they have done it, and one of them was the grounding process. I found that people were not feeling grounded in their life, and I'm going, okay, so we can do the regular thing of releasing things from people as we go along to see if they can become grounded, and sometimes that's all that's needed. There's something that's keeping them from being grounded. But what I also found, in fact, let me bring this up real quick here. I've got a chart that is chakras. And let me just slide this right up on the screen here for you. This is one of my charts that I use. Let me zoom in just a little bit for you. Let me just hold the control key down and zoom in. There we go. This is my chakras. Now, normally with chakras, you find that there are 7 that everybody talks about. And you'll see them represented here with a little asterisk on the outside. So we have the crown, the brow chakra, the throat, the heart, the solar plexus, the sacral chakra, and the root chakra. And those are the ones that we normally see if we were to look at the body code itself. In fact, let's just do that real quick here. So I'm going to drag this one up over the top too so you can see this. This is actually in the body code by Dr. Nelson. And you'll see that you have those normal ones that everybody shows. And of course, one quick comment here is you'll see that they show as balls of energy. In reality, a chakra spins around kind of like a tornado around you. And of course, I believe it goes clockwise, but they go in layers. So as you are working with the chakra, say we've got the throat chakra, or here, let's go the heart chakra. That's a very common one. It's divided up into 4 different levels: devotion, passion, unconditional love, and circulation, depending on spiritual, mental, emotional, or physical. Because when you walk into a room, a lot of times it's your chakras that pick up on the energies that are in that particular room. Okay, I don't want to go too much into chakras. That's not the reason we came here. But one of the things that what I found is that there's other chakras that are very important. In fact, if you go out there, you're going to find that there's over 300 different chakras. But the main 7 are these ones here: the crown, the brow, the throat, heart, and so forth. One of the things I found, though, is that when somebody is not grounded correctly, it's usually because of this lower one down here. It's called the Earth Star chakra. This is 6 inches below your feet, and it's tied into the Soul Star chakra, which is 6 inches above your head. So on my little chart here that I created, I just have them there so that if I don't find something in those 7, then I go to this, because sometimes it's a matter of you not being grounded. One thing I found out about the Soul Star chakra while we're here is that this one doesn't automatically function until you reach a certain level of energy, a frequency level that it'll kick in. Usually you're older when you start to get to that point where you start thinking about other people or wanting to make a connection with somebody on a higher level or another level there. Of course, here's the God's head, and that's way up there. It's about, I don't think it says on here, but it's the one that's up here and it connects. Well, the Soul Star chakra allows you to make that connection. And I believe I've got this thing. If I look at the line here, it's circling around your head. That ties in with the Earth Star chakra. And the Earth Star chakra is very important because that's where it connects you to the earth. So what we're going to talk about tonight is grounding. And like I said, when I need to use this stuff, if I'm doing a session, then I will clear things that maybe are causing a person to not be grounded. But what we're going to talk about tonight is another way to ground yourself, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. And I want to try to do this with you all tonight. So I'm going to move this out of the way, and we're going to get into it here. So let's see if my PowerPoint program worked the way it's supposed to here. The grounding process. I don't know if you recognize this, but this is the tree of life. And it's very important in this process. I love this symbol. In fact, I got myself a little ring that I can wear that's got the tree of life. First time I ordered it was too small, so my daughter took it. And then I bought me another one that fits better. But this grounding process connects you with where you are and reminds you of who you are and that you belong. One of the classes that I did in the past was about past lives. Now, most of you know I don't believe in reincarnation because I feel like that's not an issue, but I do believe generations. I do believe in generational, that we had past lives where we accomplished certain things in order to move forward. And of course, I believe this earth life is a reward. This is actually a graduation. I call it the first estate, where you graduated from a spirit form and now you are able to receive a physical body. Well, not everybody came here. Not everybody chose to do this work. You did. And there's a reason why you're here. And one of the things that happens in our lives is that a lot of times we forget about veil of forgetfulness that happened when you entered a physical body, your physical mortal body. It kind of works as a veil. And fortunately, it makes it so you don't remember how much you could do before. You could do thousands of things at the same time. Now we're restricted to doing one thing at a time. The big thing is to remember who you are when you came to this earth. You are of royal lineage. You are a spirit child of your Heavenly Father and your Heavenly Mother. I believe there's two. That if we're born in the image of God, there's got to be two. Anyway, I do a lot of logical thinking on that. On this particular grounding process, what we're going to do is I want to walk you through this blank page. Oh, that's right. I have it set up here. We're going to talk about the grounding process here. Here's you. And one of the things you do to be grounded is to sit in a chair and put your feet on the floor. I actually turn my hands up, but there's a reason for this as we go. And one of the things you do is when you are grounding, you get yourself ready and you kind of just relax, and then you send energy from your feet through the earth to the tree of life. In the center of the planet is there this wonderful tree that's down there. And what you're doing is you're sending your energy down to the tree of life that's just sitting down there. And for me, the hardest part or the longest part was when I first started doing this was physically, mentally sending that energy through my feet down through the earth. And when I first started doing this, I lived on the 3rd floor. And most of you know my regular attire is shorts, bare feet, and a t-shirt. And so when I'm working with people, I was on the 3rd floor of this place, and I was never getting down there and getting in the dirt, you might say, to be grounded. So I had to go through the apartment, down through the levels, down into the earth, and I just would send and send and send and force that energy down until I finally came to the center of the earth, which was open. And this wonderful tree was down there. And once I hit that tree, the tree lit up. And then a strange thing happened after that part. Then immediately it sends a shot of energy straight up in the air, past you, and it goes right up to God. I don't care if you believe in God, a higher source, whatever it is, but your energy is going through the process, the tree of life, up to God, which immediately sends it right back to you, and you've just completed a circuit. This is a very cool process. And I'm even just talking about it right now, my palms of my hands have just turned on. I can feel the energy that is flowing. And what this is this creating a circuit that goes around. I don't know how many people are old enough or remember that most of the lanterns that you do for camping, they have this mantle and it runs off of white gas usually. And you pump it up and you get it going. And sometimes if you don't have enough pressure in there, that mantle, when you light it up, you got the gas going in there and you put a little match in there and it lights up, sometimes parts of it will get black. It'll get sooty. It gets really frustrating. That means that you're putting too much fuel in for the pressure that you have. And if you back off the pressure, usually that black part will burn off. Finally, you get that nice glow. That's what happens when you make this circuit. And when you do that, you literally can feel the energy flowing. I just close my eyes, I got my hands up, and I feel it going down through my feet. It's going to that tree of life, shoots back up to God, and He sends it right to me. And I'll tell you what this means. This means that this is where you belong. You belong to this planet. You are a child of God. You have the right to be here. And that energy that's flowing through you is burning the soot and stuff off of you. It's a very cool process. Has any of you ever experienced something like that? You're welcome to unmute yourself and maybe comment. If not, this is something that you should try. Feel the energy flow. This is for you, belonging to this earth and connected to God or the higher source, whatever you want to call it. And that is something that I have experienced over and over. So if I'm having a really crappy day, or if I'm just feeling out of sorts, I'll just sit there and do that process. My wife, when I started doing this to start off with, she thought I was nuts, I think. She was just very nice about it. She let me do my thing. This is a second marriage for both of us. Let's see, I guess we had been married for 9 years or 10 years when I started doing this. It was right when the restaurant was disappearing. And I was frustrated and I needed something. And she knew that I needed something. But when I start doing these things, it gets kind of crazy. And I've had her do this, and she begins now to feel the energy herself. This is the grounding process. Okay, so we're going to move on because that's really all there is to it. Send the energy down to the tree, let it shoot up past you, and then the energy comes back, completing the circuit, and you are the one that's cleansing as that energy comes into you, and you just feel it burning the crap out there. That was one of the processes. Now, then energy transfusion. This has been something that I dreamed. I remember I was trying to figure out how I could work with people, trying to figure out what it is that I could do. Like I said, there's many different modalities out there. Christian Mickelson is one of the people that does what he calls the instant miracle. Now, I just couldn't figure out how he was doing this work, because he would focus on a person, and he was doing an entire group at the same time. And he would focus on somebody, and all of a sudden he'd go, and just release it. I know that for me, I have to do it a little bit differently, but the same concept is there, where you focus on the energy and you draw it in. And so I'm like, how does this work? I have this computer programmer brain that I had before I was a cook. And I'm thinking, okay, so how does this work? I like to know how things work, which is probably why I make so many charts. But anyway, I was trying to figure out how this worked, and I fell asleep. I was in bed, and about 3 o'clock in the morning, I wake up. And I had this dream about transferring energy from one person to another, or actually doing it on myself. And this is something you can do on yourself, or you can work with somebody else on. And it just was amazing. So I went into my office, which is a 10-minute commute. No, I'm sorry, 10-second commute, literally, to walk into my office and sit down at my desk. And I'm sitting in here, and this is a very common occurrence with me. My wife usually just ignores me, or, it's nice because maybe I'm not snoring. She gets to sleep better. But as I was doing this process that I had dreamed, where I was releasing this negative darkness into this sphere, and then giving it to the angels to clean and have it bring back, I was in tears, because it had affected me that much with this release that I had just done. Most of the time, I have to know what it is that I'm releasing, but with this process, I don't. All I did was take out all the negative, and I'll walk you through this process. My wife gets up and she goes and uses the bathroom, and then she comes in and says, "What are you doing?" Because I'm sitting here and I've got my hands up, I'm just trying to, what I do here. And I said, "Sit down, you got to try this." And so I worked this thing with her. And when I was doing this process, I said, "Can you feel that energy move?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "What does it feel like?" Once we had completed the process. And she said, "It feels like love." It wasn't a big, huge energy thing, but it felt calming. It just felt like an encompassing, a warm blanket had gone around her at that time. And I knew what it was, because I had just experienced it myself. Now, this process is something that you can do for yourself on your own, or you can work with somebody else. And you know what? This doesn't take any training. All it does, you got to remember, this is all about intention. And one of the things that I've noticed on this is that you don't necessarily have to have permission from the person. You know, if you have a connection, my father-in-law, I've talked to him about what I do, told him, I've explained that this could help him. He has a situation where his heart is beating irregularly. He has a condition. He's in his 70s, he's in mid-70s, and he has had his heart jump-started a number of times. He'll actually drive 900 miles where he lives down to this one location where the doctors are there, and they stop his heart, and then they restart it in hopes that it will take care of the problem of the irregular beating. And he just is addicted to Diet Dr. Pepper. I think that's probably why he's lived so long, is because he's preserved. But anyway, it's something that he knows is not good for him. And we sat there and we talked about this. I said, you know, I can help you with what I do. All I need is your permission to work on you, to pull this, you know, maybe correct the problem with the heart or whatever the issue is. And he says, I appreciate that, but I don't want you to touch me. And I thought, wow, okay, I can respect that. And even though he knows it will help, and he told me, he says, I know it would help. He says, I just don't know if I want that to happen. The energy transfusion, I got permission to do from his subconscious. And I did this on his behalf. I'll explain the process now. Now that your interest is piqued, hopefully. In my mind, when I sit down with the client, and of course, like I said, this can be yourself also. When I sit there, I pretend that I'm holding a big glass bowl, like a fish bowl or an aquarium or something like that. I'm holding this globe, and what I'm going to do is I'm making a connection with that person that I'm working with, and I'm just simply going in and I'm pulling out darkness. And I literally will go in and I just see it. I close my eyes and I watch it and I look in there. Sometimes it comes as a cloudy substance inside of their bowl, you might say, what's inside of them. And sometimes it's in the shape of their body. Sometimes I can just see this darkness that's in there. Sometimes it's like I just flew into Seattle and the overcast is there. I can't see the sun. I can't see anything. And so when I start pulling this darkness out, that's exactly what I'm doing. Sometimes it comes out like sand. Sometimes it's like I got a little vacuum cleaner cleaning an aquarium. And I'm pulling anything dark that comes out. I'm not specifying what it is. I'm simply pulling the darkness. So when I start to do that, I dump it I pour it through me, but it goes into this vessel. And I just start working with it and working with it and working with it. And sometimes I'll just kind of shake up the other person a little bit and say, okay, so where's some more of this darkness? And I just will hunt it down. And the goal is to remove all of the cloudiness inside of it. Now, I'm doing this all through intention. And so I sit there and I get that part. And ultimately, what will happen eventually, if I keep at it, I'll start to see a light in the middle. And it will get brighter and brighter and brighter as I keep going and finding all of this stuff. Now, this can take minutes. It can take several minutes. With my father-in-law, what I got wasn't so much a light as a clarity. I could just see. It was like I was looking into a night sky. All of a sudden, I could see all the stars. The goal is to pull it all into this vessel that I've got here. And I keep testing as I go. I'm asking the subconscious, I said, do I have it all? Do I have it all? Do I have it all? And it keeps telling me a little bit more, until finally it says, I got it. And so now I got all this darkness out of here. I'm thinking, what am I going to do with this? And that's where my dream had taught me how to do this. What you do is you send it to the cleaning service. So basically, I give that vessel to the angels. Now, for me, angels are very, very real. I use them because of some experiences that I've had. And I give it to them and I just let it go because it's going through. I look at it as if it's going to the dry cleaners. And that is the process that I use on this. And I just let it go. I just wait and I keep testing. Is it ready? Is it ready? Is it ready? Finally, the angels will send it back to me and I get this big, clean energy that goes into the vessel where the dirty was before, because they just give it back to me and I've got it. I'm in my mind, I'm holding that light. And then the cool part is I start transferring it back to the person, to the client. Now, when we're sending it back, all it does is make it brighter and brighter and brighter. And that person, like I said, this is what my wife said, was that it felt like love. To me, it brought me to tears because I could just feel that stuff going out. And one of the things I found was that it was pulling stuff out that I did not even have to go and identify using the body code or the emotion code or any other thing, because it was pulling just the darkness out of that soul of the person. And that's the process. And when it gets done, I just keep testing as I go. And if I've got it, then I know when I'm done. Does everybody feel it? I don't know. Everybody I've worked with so far has felt this. Everybody has different things that you've experienced in your life. And sometimes when you have things that are really pressing on you, or you've been through a lot of crap in your life, a lot of times you will tell your subconscious, I don't want to feel anymore. I can't handle it. And the subconscious will say, okay. And then sometimes I have to go back and I have to help people literally start feeling. What do you guys think about that? Give me some response.
Tom and Stephanie, I think it sounds great.
Okay, so this is something that you can do on your own, and you can also do it for other people. The big thing is, if you feel like you can do it, you can. Where if you think you can do it, you can. If you don't think you can do it, you probably won't be able to do it. You have to be ready. But this is a process that I really firmly believe in.
I do have a question for you, Tom.
Sure.
So if you're just working on yourself, do you take like all of your darkness and stuff and put it into a bowl? And
Absolutely.
when you feel like it's full up, then you send that up?
I do. I just hand it off. So here's the thing. Let me just give you, maybe this is a good spot to talk about my angels. A lot of people have a problem with the angel thing. A lot of people have had near-death experiences, and I really put a lot of stock into that. My mom, she had a near-death experience when she was in a coma due to spinal meningitis. She was in a coma for a week. During that time frame, I thought, I'm reading these near-death experiences, hoping that my mom's going to come out of this coma and not just pass on. When she came back, I asked her, I said, did you have a near-death experience? And she said, no. It was 6 months before she finally got the courage to tell me that she had been through this process. So for me, that's my mom. She met with Christ, actually. She met with Jesus, and she talked with him, and they decided that she was going to come back. She chose to come back. So when I read all these different things, I believe that people actually have these experiences because that was my mom. Well, one of the ladies that I was exchanging sessions with, and this is something that if you ever decide to become a healer, a lot of times it's nice to have other people to be able to work on you. And so this one woman I was working with, and she had had a near-death experience, I think, a couple times. And it seems like when people go through that process, they leave the door open just a little bit. And she was able to communicate with the angels. Now, I can't do that. I can't see them. I can't hear them. I can't see auras. There's a lot of things that I cannot do on a physical senses that I cannot accomplish, apparently. I'm hoping that the time will come soon where I can start to have that. But at this point, I'm still not able to do that. But I trusted what she was telling me. A lot of times when we do this work, we always try to remove the heart wall, and we do different things that are necessary, and we put a shield on you. And this shield is to replace the wall that was built around your heart made of toxic emotions. And now you have this clear, clean shield that is protecting you. And the experience that we had with her was that she found that as she was working on me, that there was this entity that was trying to get into my shield. So in her mind, and she described it to me, that there was this glass shield that was around me, like a ball, like a force field or whatever. And you know how a fly bounces off the glass when it's trying to get out? It just doesn't understand it can't get out. It keeps bouncing. And she said, there's something bouncing on the outside of your shield. It's like a fly, like I just described. And she said, I think it's an entity. And I said, well, can we get rid of it? Because I believe that, yes, the entities can bother us. I believe so much in entities. There's a lot of things going on out there that we don't know about. And she says, I don't know. Let me ask. That was her standard question when she had something that she was going to have to work with her angels. And I said, so what does that mean? She goes, well, I have the ability to hear and see angels. They come to me and I ask them questions. And she said, she gave me the little bit of background. She said before, when I used the body code, but body code 1.0 did not talk about entities. Body code 2.0 does talk about entities. So she's been using the body code long enough that she was using the 1.0 at the time, not when she worked with me, but before. And she had worked with a gentleman where entities were involved. And she's like, I don't know what to do. It's not on 1.0. I don't know how to handle this. And the man says, well, is there anything we can do? Well, she had that relationship with the angels. He says, I don't know. Let me ask. And so she asked the angels, and they said, well, we can help you with this if you would like. She asked the man, is it okay if we use this process that I've been given? And he says, of course. And they were able to handle the situation with the entities. So she had that relationship with the angels. And so when she was working with me and she saw that entity that was bouncing off the outside, in my mind, I picture my shield kind of like one of those glass bulbs or glass spheres that the Japanese use for floats on their fishing nets. And so it's like a sphere around me and it's clear. And so she could see that thing bouncing off. And I said, can we do anything about it? And she said, yes, let me ask. So she asked her angels and they said, yes, we can take care of this. Now, when she does this, she just goes quiet. And she doesn't tell me a blow by blow because she's watching. And she actually sees the angels do their work. So I'm listening. I'm on the phone. I can't even see her. So I hear this, and then she starts crying. And I'm like, whoa. And this still always affects me. I said, so what's going on? And she says, they came down. So they always come down. They seem to come down in the vortex, the angels. And they come out, and they have these weapons that shoot out a beam of light. It's like a white light. And what they do is they corner the entity, and then they take it back up with them in the vortex. And I'm thinking, cool. In this situation, oh, she's crying. And I said, so what's going on? She says, they came down. And when the angels came out of the vortex, they are wearing armor. These were warrior angels. And she says, I've never seen them before like this. She said, and then when they went to get the entity, it morphed into many. And I thought, wow, for those of you that are religious, I thought legion. So there was a lot. And there was an actual battle that took place where they were able to overcome the entities and take them away. Now, in the motion code, or in the body code, I should say, it talks about just releasing these entities. And I used to do that, because it says so. It says right here, release these entities. And the entities had a tendency to bother me. And I know it sounds weird. They would go into my computer. They would go into my wife's sewing machine. There was always something weird going on. And I thought, got to be a better way. And when she told me that, I realized that I have the authority to ask my angels to come. And now when I release an entity from someone, I do release them to the angels. And I've never had a problem with them since. In fact, I've released a lot to do that work. And the angels, there's a regular team. Apparently, it's pretty much the same group that comes in and will take away, whether it's a devil or a demon or whatever the thing is. Even these disembodied spirits, which are people who have died but have not moved on, sometimes they come to help them move on or remove them if they're causing a problem. So what does that have to do with our grounding? Well, there's just so much that we don't see, but it helps me realize that there's all that out there that are causing us issues that we cannot even see. Yeah. Did I answer your question, though?
Yes, you did.
Okay. That's the main thing. Does anybody have any questions that they don't have to even relate to what we're talking about right now?
Hey, Tom, it's Barbara. I have a question.
Sure. Ask away.
So when you're doing that energy transfusion practice with a client, are you having the client imagine that vessel and putting their stuff into it, or what are you having them do?
They can just sit there because they don't know what it is that you're going to be working with. Anytime that you're working with somebody, you're the expert. You are the one that's controlling the situation. So I just tell them, okay, just relax. let me just do this that's called an energy transfusion. I'm going to just run through the process. And what I do is I describe it as I see it as I'm doing it. When I'm doing a regular session, I say, is this a toxin? Is this whatever? And I walk through it. Even if somebody's just on the phone, they can kind of follow through that I'm going through a process. But I do the same thing for this. So I sit there and I go, oh, there's a little bit there on the left. Let me get in there. And I'm seeing it. I'm seeing that I'm built to some dark spots. I don't know what it is we are removing. I just know that it's dark and it's keeping the light inside of you from shining bright. And I keep working, and sometimes it takes 10 minutes. I mean, it takes a while sometimes to do this. This is why I don't do it very often. Unless it tells me on my offline charts that I need to do an energy transfusion, it takes time and it takes a lot out of me. But I'm in there nitpicking, looking for any dark spots, and I just kind of pull them out. And I'm just pulling them out, putting them into, I run them through me. I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but I just run them through me, and I put them right into this vessel. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
So I'm just literally working with whatever comes out. I have no idea what it is. And when I start to see, what happens is the overcast will start to clear. For a lot of times it's black to start off with. And I just know that if I keep at it, eventually there's going to lighten up. It's going to get lighter and lighter. And then there's little bits and pieces. Sometimes I have to shake it around a little bit to have some come up. And then I snag those. And eventually I'll see this light in the middle that is trying to break through the surrounding areas there and to make it brighter. And I just keep going until I see that nice and glow. And then I ask the subconscious, am I done? Do I have it all? And when I get the answer that it is, then I say, okay, I'm just giving it to the angels. And I just tell them. I know a lot of people, I have actually clients that tell me, don't get into this angel stuff. I said, that's okay. I just don't say anything. Okay, I'm going to get this cleaned. And I'm sending it off to the cleaners, and it doesn't take them very long. Sometimes it may take 10, 15 seconds, 30 seconds before the energy can come back to me that's been cleaned. And it comes back nice and clean, and I said, okay, so now we're going to return it. And a lot of times I'll see it as it goes in, and it'll kind of go in there like honey or like a cloud, and it just kind of accentuates the energy that's in there and makes that light brighter. So it's a very clean process that we're doing. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
One of the things that I do want everybody to remember is that you go to healersresource.com. It's probably the best place to go to listen to it. But that's where we're going. So healersresource.com. It's free to create an account. It's free to purchase the MasterMind, and that's the one that you're going to want to get in on. Just a heads up, probably in April, I've been getting asked a lot, is when we'll open up the Ultimate Healer again. In the meantime, what we're doing is we're trying to create that so it's an online course so that people can just literally go in and do it without having to worry about waiting 2 weeks. I've got a great group that's working with it right now, and they're helping me to clean it up and get the stuff out there. So hopefully that'll be open in the near future. All right, good. Thank you, everybody, for being here.